We just have a quick question from Abu, who asks, when a central bank says they are moving to buy longer dated bonds instead of shorter dated bonds, how does it affect the specific currency when a central bank does that? So this is a great question, Abu, and I'm assuming that you're referring to the recent announcement by the RBA that they are considering buying longer dated bonds. Now, the answer really comes down to what the central bank's goal is with that particular purchase. So, for example, in Australia, due to the coronavirus pandemic, the RBA cut rates down to 0.25%. And have also recently highlighted that they are willing to cut it even more, possibly down to 0.1%. Apart from that, they have also given clear guidance that they are not going to move rates higher until they have moved closer to the inflation and employment targets. Now, this is very important because by cutting rates to or close to zero and then saying that they will keep them there until real progress is made, that's a clear way of making sure that short-term yields or rates are anchored low by the expectations that the cash rate will stay low for a long time. Now, apart from that, the RBA has also chosen to do QE slightly differently than other banks by opting for a yield curve control bond buying program, where they've basically chosen the 3-year yield and have been buying bonds across the yield curve to keep the 3-year yield at a specific target of 0.25%. So with that in mind, the recent comment about possibly buying additional bonds at the back end of the curve has another strategy behind it. Now, when central banks buy longer dated bonds, when they buy longer dated bonds, it's because they want to help stabilize long end rates and help to basically compress real yields. So remember that from an economy point of view, if you're a business that wants to expand and take out a loan, or let's say you're a homeowner who wants to buy a house and take out a mortgage, you want the assurance that rates will stay low or lower for longer. So that's another reason why central banks would want to keep longer term rates or yields anchored lower as well. So always think of this in terms of what the central bank aims to achieve or what their goals are with that particular bond buying. Now, in terms of the effect on the currency, usually any increase in quantitative easing is seen as a negative for the currency, because not only does it increase the money supply, but it also keeps rates anchored lower, as we mentioned, which isn't good for the currency from a rate differential point of view. So it's important, though, to always establish whether the bank is planning or aiming to buy additional bonds, or whether they will just swap the current purchases for, let's say, offset maturities for other short or longer dated maturities. So if they are simply just buying something at a different maturity instead of another, that's not really going to be that negative for the currency. But if they announce that they are buying additional bonds or basically increasing their QE, that should be more negative for the currency. So Abu, I hope that helps with your question. Any others, please don't hesitate to let us know.